Hello friends and welcome back to Picture Astrology. In today's video we will see the effects of Mars in the 12th house for Virgo Ascendant horoscope. And when the sign of Ascendant is Virgo, 12th house contains Leo sign. So this video is about Mars in Leo in the 12th house of the horoscope. Now generally saying, Mars in 12th house is considered a very tricky position because 12th house is considered the house of expenses and it is known to increase the expense of the person. However, for the Virgo ascendant, this position can prove to be very good for wealth making. There are certain areas of life which could prove to be highly beneficial in terms of business and making money. So we will see what those areas are. And also this in general, being in the 12th house poses certain challenges to the person, to general life, to health. We will see what those challenges are, and we will also see how to overcome those challenges. Now before we start and analyzing our specific details of this placement of Mars in the 12th house, let's first look at one of the most basic principle of chart analysis. And that principle, roughly put, is that Lord of any of the bad houses, and sorry, by bad I mean some of the negative houses. So the Lord of any of the negative houses should never be strong. In fact, the weaker the Lord of negative houses is, the better it is for the horoscope. Now, this principle in technical term is also known as Viparit Rajyog. And in Sanskrit, Viparit basically means the opposite. So what it means is negative of negative is equal to positive. And we will see how this principle is applicable in this placement of Mars. So let's first see for the Virgo ascendant horoscope, which are the houses on which Mars has the lordship of. Now Mars lords over Scorpio and Aries sign, and these two houses fall under 3rd house and the 8th house of the horoscope. Now we know that 8th is associated with all kind of sudden and unknown events in life, any kind of accident, surgery, even the spiritual world, or spirits rather, not the spiritual word, which includes certain kind of spiritual practices also. And 3rd house also has somewhat similar connotations, apart from being the house of courage, and by courage it also means the house of hard work. So the stronger the Lord of 8th house will be, the more sudden events you could expect in your life, which may be unpleasant. And similarly, the stronger the 3rd house Lord is, the more hard work you might have to do in life. You would be faced with situations in life which requires you to work hard. And when the Lord of these two negative houses is weakly placed, it should not be badly placed, it should not be afflicted. If it is just weak in the horoscope, then what it means is your life will probably go on without much of sudden things, without much of hard work, and actually will go on smoothly. And this is exactly what happens when Mars goes into the 12th house. So another important principle of Vedic astrology is that any planet which goes into 12th house is generally considered as a weak planet. So we have a Mars which is the Lord of two negative houses, 3rd and 8th, and it is in a weak position. Now remember, I said it should be weak, it should not be bad. And by bad or afflicted, what I mean is it should not be in a sign of an enemy, or it should not be afflicted by planets which it doesn't like. So 12th house is considered a weak house, so Mars here is considered weak, but Mars is in Leo sign, and Leo is one of the favorable sign of Mars. So what this really makes this placement as Viparit Rajyog, meaning Mars is happily placed but still weak, and it is the lord of negative houses. So what it does is it reduces the negativity of the horoscope, to a great extent, and makes the person's life easy. Now we'll see what are those specific areas in which you can expect your life to be easy, and also what are the challenges which comes with this placement. So one of the very first things which comes into mind when people talk about 12th house is that it is the house of expenses, a lot of dollar going away from your pocket. And it is true that Mars here in this Leo sign does show an increase in the expenses of the person. And that expense could be sometimes because of the siblings, because Mars is the natural karaka of the sibling and also the lord of third house, which shows your younger brothers. And also third house is the house which shows your desires. It is the beginning of what is known as Kama Trikona, meaning desires. So 3, 7, 11, these three houses together shows, the desire and fulfillment of it. So the lord of third house in 12th also shows that the person will spend money on himself or herself, on fulfilling the needs of their lives. Now remember, one of the necessary thing to live a life of happiness is the ability to spend on yourself. You should not just earn money. The enjoyment needs, you want to spend it. And it also shows the expenditure of your life energy. You have to invest your life. When you go to a pub and party at night, you are giving a part of your life energy, and in return you get what is called as physical enjoyment. So this placement of Mars does show that the person is a fun-loving person and they do spend money on themselves. So it does show increased expenses, but it doesn't show poverty. So remember, that is a very important distinguishing factor. Now Mars is also the lord of 8th house, which among other things shows a sudden loss, things which you can lose suddenly in life, and also the other people's money. And we saw in the beginning of the video that the lord of a negative house in a negative place is actually a good thing. So what this Mars here shows, that a person can have a lot of gains in terms of businesses of things which are grown underground, because 8th house among other things is the house of hidden things, and one of the aspect of hidden things means that things which happens under or underneath the ground. What this could be, it could mean minerals. Now minerals like iron ore and other ores, they are specifically important here because Mars is the natural karaka of minerals or raw ore like iron ore or gold ore. Gold also, because Mars is right now in the sign of Leo, which is a royal sign which represents metals like gold. So any kind of business which has something to do with things which are underground, which would also include agricultural produce like potatoes or onions or garlic. There are so many harvests which happens underground. So any kind of business which relates to these items will also be beneficial. At the same time, Mars represents real estate, land, agricultural farmhouses. So brokers in that area is also one of the businesses in which people with this placement have found to be very successful. Now, one more important point just to note here is that Mars is in the 12th house. So many times the person who involves in all these kind of businesses would not be running his own business, but would be working like an agent or a broker with something. So remember, it's another principle of astrology that to be a business owner, Mars has to be really strong, and sometimes that has to be in one of the Kendra houses, the 4, 7, 10 and or 11 or other strong houses. When Mars is in a house like 12th and getting this kind of Viparit Raj Yoga, the person does gain a lot of things, does gain money from all these significations we talk about, but generally they don't own the business. They act as like an agent or a broker or someone who facilitates the deal, or who has an agency who collects kind of agriculture produce from multiple places and then sell it to a market. So that kind of business, an agency kind of business, is generally found to be very, very successful with this placement. Now 8th house also shows your life energy, and Mars placement in the 12th house causing the kind of yoga actually shows a long life, a person who lives generally a longer life. However, they are prone to minor injuries and accident, falling from some place and having a bruised or things like that, primarily because Mars has an aspect on the 6th house, which shows many of these things. Many of the things like diseases and deaths, etc., are shown by the 6th house. And when the Mars has this aspect, a person is generally always is in hurry. They have a very uptight nature. They want to do things in rush, so they end up hurting themselves many times. At the same time, 12th house is the house of your eyes, or more specifically left eye. So take care of your left eye. If there is any more affliction here, especially if moon is also weak, your left eye sight could be weak. Now also the aspect on the 6th house shows your intestine. So gastric problem with digestion is also very common in people with this kind of placement. Now this placement also has an effect on the married life of people. I guess I'll have to probably create another video to explain that, because this video is already getting long enough. So I'll keep that topic for another discussion. So I hope you guys liked this video, and please do share your comments in the comment section and subscribe to my channel for more interesting videos like this. And until we meet next time, stay blessed. See you soon.